driven women's guide to love,
life, and business. Hosted by the boss ladies Alex and Gabby. Combined, their network gathers an array of women from various industries who exemplify strength and tenacity. Their fun and positive approach to life will awaken the boss in you. You're listening to Girls Gone Boss.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Girls Gone Boss. I'm Gabby.
And I'm Alex.
And we're here to bring you another episode for your listening or viewing pleasure, because now we're on YouTube as well. So welcome to everybody that is also watching us. We're so excited because, you know, our platform is a place where we want to highlight amazing women, but we have never really sat down with someone that is an educator. And obviously, you know, Alex and I have sat with millions of women, but educators are just special people that I feel go underrated, underpaid. We know there is a disparity in education. And we have a local woman who is here, beautiful as ever on this Saturday morning, who has lent her life to give back and create the future for kids. And not only just kids, it's kids with special needs, which is already on a different level. So we're excited to sit down, especially during the month of autism awareness, which is April, where we bring more conversations like this to create acceptance, to educate others on this cause. So I am so excited to welcome Egleevelyn Nunez Sancristobal to the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, ladies.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
So yeah, Eglee, I just also wanted to tell our listeners and our viewers that I'm very honored to be part of the board that makes up the board of S.T.A.R.S Prep School. And I guess that's how me and you got together and we got connected. And the board is just comprised of different professionals in different realms that help bring awareness, resources to the school, because you're running this by yourself. And well, you have a team, but this is an act of love from you, and it's been led by you for many years. I guess to start is, how did you get started in education and what led you to this?
Well, really, I first of all, I thank you so much for being part of our board, because really, I can't do it by myself. And as the years have gone on, I've realized more and more that there is special people out there to do this job. And it's taken us 10 years to really fine tune what our kids and what our community needs. And really what got me started was, studying. I did my bachelor's in early education. And when I started those classes, I really my focus was, how do I help those that no one else in my class wanted to help? No one else was signing up for the ESOL kids or signing up for those kids with special needs. So long story short, I met with my advisor and he said, well, there's a degree in special needs, K through 12, and you would be specialized in this and that. You would have to take more tests and all of that, but this would be your specialty. And I said, I'm on it. I want it. And that's when I started realizing the need in our schools. When I started working in the public school system, they do the best that they can, not to say anything about the public school system, but there's a need. There's a very big need. And I realized that really there wasn't enough information out there. There wasn't enough education, even in our textbooks, talking about autism. It was something that was students in our class, and they would just say, well, he's just having difficulties communicating. He has autism. And I would have to go back and say, I don't remember learning about autism. I remember learning about all these other exceptionalities, but I don't remember autism. There was 2 pages in our textbooks about autism. Fast forward 10 years now, we have a lot more awareness. And it's really because of people like yourselves really taking the time to learn about this, because it is affecting our children. It's not something that happens as we're older. This is something that literally happens as soon as 2 years old, that you start seeing the symptoms. And I started our first school. I started it with 4 kids. One of them is actually graduating this year, or moving on to higher education. And, it's been a journey, ladies. It's been a journey. It's been a journey. to say the least.
Can you clarify something for me? Because when you said that there was only like 10 pages on autism in the textbook, you mean in your special needs courses that you were taking to really? Okay.
So really, there was really not even 10. There was 2 to 3 pages on autism and what that looked like and what the symptoms and really neurologically what that looked like. And there wasn't a lot of information for us as educators to be able to educate these students in particular, because it's a different rim. I don't, I feel that every exceptionality has its own need, and just like autism. So it took a lot of training. It took a lot of research. It took a lot of experience, just trial and error, to be honest. And I thank all those kids that were part of that, because I learned along the way so much from them to now be able to be better for those that are coming to our school now.
Right.
Yeah. And I also would think, because you're born and raised here in South Florida, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Predominantly Latino. I also think autism in the Latin community might be a little bit still taboo. You don't know, you don't talk about it.
Yep.
You're not educated about it. You might treat it as just like a behavioral problem, but
Correct.
Sometimes in the Latino community is also there's a misconception about like, oh no, my kid is fine.
It's a denial.
That was the hardest part for me, I have to tell you. And still to this day, we don't have an over amount of kids in our school. And I really think it's because I'm very particular about the families that we enroll, because it is so hard for me to sit at the tours and have to convince a parent that their child needs this type of specialized service, this type of specialized education. It is still very, very intense in the Hispanic community, where it's just, we're not talking about it. He's fine. He'll grow out of it. It's just a phase. But really moms are the ones that usually come the most by themselves. And they cry in my office because, they're like, I'm glad I'm not going crazy, because everybody says I'm crazy. And I'm just making things up. I'm trying to make my kid something that he's not. So, it's hard. It's hard to sit in those meetings and then never hear from them again sometimes, or a year or two will go on, we'll pass by, and then they're calling again because now it's gotten more severe. It's difficult, and I just pray for them, to be honest. I pray for those families because as a mom, you have that intuition sometimes about your child, and it's hard when you see something, but yet you don't have that support. And I think we all go through that at some point in our lives. Later in the conversation, we can get into some of those signs that maybe like moms listening can kind of take as red flags. Absolutely.
But do you think that there's like a pushback from the parent? Because originally, so they come to you, and then like you said, you don't hear from them for a year or two. So do you think that it's because they go back home and then people get in their ear and they're like, you're overreacting, you're completely overreacting. They're going to be fine. They're going to grow out of it. It's just a stage. So then that mother or that parent, they feel ashamed for even thinking that about their child. Okay.
Correct. And that is exactly the guilt that we're talking about. And so, what doesn't help at times is the pediatricians that are not really educated in that as well. If you're going to a pediatrician that gave, that was at your birth, and now you're taking your kids to that pediatrician, there's sometimes not as understanding of the situation, and don't encourage hey, go get him evaluated. Hey, go see a speech therapist, see, why he's not speaking. And that's the other part. I think we've gotten better. And then for a couple of years, we overdiagnosed everyone with autism. And then now it's starting to kind of trickle down as far as really pinpointing what those areas are that child needs specialty in. But absolutely, I see it all the time with moms and families. Time will go on, and then they'll call back and say, I really need him in that specialized school. And I think that's what the problem is. They have a hard time accepting that it is a specialized school. And that's why, in the past year and a half, we started enrolling typical kids in our school. And that's the global program, the global school, because we wanted to try to be more inclusive with our kids, to give families that hope and to give families that understanding that it's not just a specialized school. because I want them to get the help. But being a specialized school, a lot of the parents are kind of like, he doesn't need to be there, but he really does. And that's the hard part.
So let's get into what autism is.
Yes.
And, some like the statistics that are out there, because it's very prevalent. I feel like everyone listening is going to know someone that has an autistic child or a sibling or someone in their family, friends. So this is something very prevalent. What is it? How, some of the statistics, etc.
Yeah. So, throughout the years, it was really 1 in 100 and something. And I think it's because, the last 10 years, 12, I would say 15 years, students were not getting diagnosed properly. They were just kept home. And a lot of things have changed. But the statistic now is 1 in 44, and it affects more boys than girls. And autism is a serious developmental disorder that causes inability to communicate effectively. You'll see a lot of obsessive behaviors in that student. Interaction is very limited. But then sometimes you'll see that, no, he interacts pretty well. He plays with other kids at the park, but it's not really communicating. Or, he will only play with these Legos. And if you don't give him those Legos, he'll have a full tantrum. So I can see how then parents are kind of blurred the lines because they're like, well, he's just little. And you'll see this at as young as 1. You'll start seeing some of these symptoms. So I can see how some parents that have that child that doesn't have that, that's why it's called the spectrum, because it's very wide, can kind of be like, oh no, he'll get over it. But there's still things on that box that even if you're checking 1 off, we should go get him evaluated and we should get some help.
Where would you go to get evaluated? And, where can someone, I wouldn't know, like, okay, where do I go? The ER, my primary doctor,
resources.
Yeah. So the first thing that guides and really sparks the whole process is the pediatrician, because you need a prescription to take him to get evaluated. So that's really what we're working on, is more with those pediatricians to not give those parents that time to say, come back in 6 months. And if he's still not talking, then we'll do something. We're really trying to work with those pediatricians, because when they come to us at 4 or 5, it's a lot more, it's difficult. It's a lot more difficult than when if he would have come at 2 or 1.5.
Why is that? Why is that? How does that make a difference in those 2 years?
Yeah, so it's going back to the wording of, a kid's a sponge. Think of it like that. It's literally factual. So the younger that we start working with them and really start organizing their transmissions in their brain, because that's really what's going on. The autism brain is intact. It just needs guidance. As early as we can start working with that child and organizing their thoughts, their feelings, how to communicate, how to interact. They are so smart that it's kind of embedded in them at that point, where we can really start helping that child as he starts to grow and starts to realize things that other kids realize at 4 and 5. He's already has a kind of head start in saying, wait a minute, I can't do that because I'm going to feel bad. Because we've been training him and working with him and giving him therapy since he's 1.5, 2. And it really decreases the frustration. Ladies, think of, when you feel frustrated because, and you're able to speak and someone's not understanding what you're saying. And you're like, you don't understand what I'm saying? How else do I tell you? Right. And we can speak. So it really decreases their frustration. And then at the same time decreases, their ability to feel comfortable in their skin, because they don't understand why you don't understand. And that starts as early as 2, 1.5. So think of it that way, creating kind of a positive interaction from early on when you yourself feel like something's not jiving, something's not working.
It's true. So it's kind of like early prevention is
key 100%. Like anything, early diagnosis, early intervention is key in autism, like everything, but really in autism more, because we've seen the difference. We've had kids that we've had from 2 years old that have been able to mainstream. Mainstream means that you're able to leave the specialized school and go into a setting that has typical developing students, right, that don't have a diagnosis and function. And the key to that is intervention. The key to that.
Your school, particularly, on what age range do you guys work with?
So that's a tricky question, because I never want to let them go. And, that's got me into trouble, because, then we'll go into a middle school grade and things of that nature. And I've had to really, really control my urge to help these families, all of them, because they deserve their own space at a certain age. And with that comes a lot of responsibility. So we've decided to, as a fifth grade, that child is now transitioned, is what we call it, to a middle school, because we feel that is kind of our area of expertise from that preschool age, which other schools don't want to work with, because you have the diapers and the potty training. And we love that age, to all the way fifth grade.
Got it. Okay. Now, April is Autism Awareness Month. Let's talk about that. Tell us what you guys are doing to bring that awareness.
One of the first things that we do is at the school. We start really making it a big deal that this is Autism Awareness Month. We wear blue, we have a party, we celebrate, because we want the parents to know that it's okay. We want the parents to know that their child's going to be fine, and that they have to be understanding that we're excited about teaching your kids. That's why we want to celebrate. And that's, it's been a touchy subject for years, because not everyone feels that way. And not every parent that's dropping off their child feels that way at the time. But as they see the progress, they see that it's going to be okay. And we have a little bit of that as the range in our school. So we do that. We have the kids really understand, the ones that can articulate what autism is, and why you have autism, and what can you do about it, and how can we help you. So we have a lot of those conversations, because they hear about it, because they might not be doing it at home. So we want to advocate for those kids. And then we have this big fundraiser that we also do in April to bring out the adults, because really those are the ones that need to help those parents that are having questions. And if a friend comes to you and says, I don't know, I'm really worried about so-and-so, it's our job to tell that parent, hey, just tell your doctor, not to try to make them feel better by saying he's going to be fine. Of course, we want to say that. But if that person feels like something's not okay, like anything, like if you were to say, I'm not feeling good, my body, you would say, go to the doctor. You need to go to the doctor. So it's the same thing. So it's just creating that awareness and letting people know that these people are people, and they're amongst us, and we need to, like everything, right, that's going on in life right now in this world, be accepting and knowledgeable, and just help them feel inclusive.
Right. I think also giving parents grace. I think awareness has allowed me, working with you in the school has allowed me to kind of pinpoint those kids. And I have a story to tell you guys that I was at a store, and it was like a huge line to the register. And I was in front of a mom, and about the child was pretty grown up. He was like 6 or 7. But I noticed that he was getting irritated by being in the line for too long, and he would cry like randomly. That the mom was like, I already got you what you wanted. And he's like, no, but I want something else. And he would cry. And then, oh, I don't want to be in the line. He would cry. And I was like, at first I was like, oh, what do you think? You judge, right? Oh, what a bratty kid. Like, why is he crying so much? But then my awareness button came on. And I was like, you know what? This child must be autistic. So let me give him grace. And the mom, you could tell, because then he did a tantrum. Right. The mom was super embarrassed. She turned around to me. She said, él es autistic. Era una cubana. She's like, y disculpa, pero es que esto le pasa a él tiene, and I'm like, don't worry about it. I understand. I actually even mentioned that I worked with a school for autism. So she was like, oh, thank you. She felt really embarrassed, because everyone was looking at her with a tantrum. So I think building awareness also gives us the ability to give grace to other people and not judge kids out there, because you just never know. And it just wasn't normal for a child his age to do those type of tantrums. So I knew that there was something up.
I mean, parenting alone, guys, is hard. So, when you also have to deal with can't go to the store because you feel like you're being judged all the time as a mom or as a person. He could have been with anybody, and it's hard. It's very difficult to feel like that all the time, because it's not like he's just having a day today and, my child's fine. No, it's all the time. So for me, it's very, I also have to take moments of grace and remind myself of that, because we have 80 students plus the parents. So it's very, it's difficult at times to explain this to parents and say, take your kids out, take them to the beach. I mean, with COVID, we haven't been able to, in the last 2 years, go to field trips as we normally do. But we go to field trips every month. We just went to the fair. It was our first field trip after these 2 years. And we're out and about, and we go and we take the kids places that if it wasn't because of us, they wouldn't go. We go to the beach, we go to the fair, we go to the Frost Museum, we go to the zoo, we go to all these places. And the parents come with us because if not, they wouldn't have this experience. So they feel like it's a safety net, and we encourage it. We want it, so that they see that it's okay. It's okay.
Because sometimes they're triggered by the stimulus of
Yes.
being out with people and
The sensory
they may not be
component.
familiar with, right?
Yeah, so it's the sensory component. Autism has a huge component that you and I are able to regulate. That's the word. They're not able to regulate their sensory input or output. So we have to teach them that. But they have the capability of learning to do it. See, that's the difference, right? They have the capability, but without therapy and a setting that's conducive to that, it really, there's a lot of triggers. That necessarily doesn't help them to be out in the community. So what do parents do? They keep them in. They keep them comfortable, and that's actually something that I understand, but that's something that we really push our parents to try. We give them tools. We tell them to get headphones. Sometimes we tell them to get different technologies, fidgets, anything that will keep that child, focused on that item so that he can be around people in public.
What are some myths and misconceptions that people have about autism in general that you can talk about?
They think they can't learn. And I get emotional. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Take your time.
They think they can't learn. People are just, harsh sometimes. These kids are amazing. They just need a little bit more TLC. And it just surprises me how people just give up on these kids so quickly. It takes work. I'm not going to say that it's easy. I'm not going to say that, we have this magic wand and our kids learn at the school. It takes a lot of work. But they're amazing. They have zero judgment. They love you for who you are. They're super funny. They're energetic. They really teach us the beauty of unconditional love, to be honest. And
What a beautiful thing that there's people like you that are passionate about what they do to help these kids, because there are sometimes kids that are forgotten or, imagine when you're just us, sometimes we feel that way. Imagine someone with a learning difficulty. So I really commend you for doing life's work with this, because this is not easy.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. Education, like you mentioned, Gabby, has taken, such a turn. So finding teachers that are passionate, teachers that, we're a 501c3, so we don't get the funding that other schools get. We have to, hustle for our funding and have parents apply for scholarships and do fundraisers and things like that. So we pay our teachers pretty competitively, and our ratios are pretty small in the school, but it's still work. Teachers, we should be getting, they should be getting $80,000 a year to do what they do every day with our kids. And yet it's not seen that way. And I think the day that changes, our educational expectation for our kids are going to change. What they think they can do with their life is going to change. And that's the key. And we're focusing on creating all these laws for so many other things, but we're not focusing on really the people that are with our kids every day and helping them see the future. And we need to focus more on education and how to find funding for schools, not just ours, just in general.
Right, because your school is going to potentially allow them to become, healthy working adults that could be independent.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's important.
Not a burden to society as many think. And the way to really help that is to pay our teachers, give them, what we can and everything. And we do a lot for them at the school, but, everybody has bills and everybody has responsibilities. And it takes a lot of courage, because we really recommend a lot for our kids, the teachers, the therapists. It takes a lot of courage to step out and say, I think your child needs to do this, and hope and pray that parent will be receptive and jump on board so we can move on to the next phase. And sometimes they're not. The ones that are, we see a huge difference because we're able to do our job. And the ones that are not, leave the school or go to another school that doesn't tell them those things because they don't want to hear it. So it's a lot. It's a job, and that really requires a lot of mental strength. And but at the end of the day, we do it, and we wake up every day and we do it because our kids show up to school every day, and they want to go to school, and they want to see us, and they want to learn. So we have to be able to show up and give that same energy.
Speaking of all of the teachers you're mentioning, I know that you work with a lot of women. I had the chance to go to the school, and it was a lot of amazing women in your staff. So I wanted to see you as a leader, as a head of this amazing school. How is it that you lead all these people? How do you empower your staff? Because not only are you, a lead for the children, but you also lead for the people in your staff. And how do you keep them motivated? Because, it's not every day that's going to be easy.
We are a big group of women. I think we only have like 3 men in the whole school. I really focus on their strengths, because we're very hard on ourselves. We're very hard. Women in general, we're very hard on ourselves, and we put so much pressure on ourselves because that's just, we're built that way. We're built to do that. So I really focus when I can see that things are, that teachers feeling down and out because something's going on with one of their students, or a parent wasn't too nice, or, they're just maybe having personal issues. I really, really make an effort to, get that connection, make that connection, and remind them of their strength, and remind them that they can do this because they have a purpose. And I use that word a lot, because to do what we do, and anything we do, you have to feel purpose. You have to feel purposeful. If not, everything I feel kind of trickles down, your confidence, your ability to function, everything. You have to feel like you have a purpose, whatever that purpose might be. We do a lot of self-awareness, goal setting. I send a lot of reflections. We have a chat. So every other day I send motivational quotes on the chat, usually on Fridays, I tend to go a little bit funnier. So, they can kind of see that side. I really try to get them. I give them hugs, the ones that, are comfortable with that. I remind them how good they look, and just really giving them that love, because even though I'm very militant, as many might say at the school, I do have a really, really soft side. You guys just kind of saw that, but I have to be strong for them. So I have to always, and that's what people don't realize, that I have to have a certain flow about myself during the day, because there's a lot of things going on that not everybody knows all that. I'm usually the only one that knows about everything that's going on. So it's about motivation. It's about motivation. It's about reminding them how awesome they are, and just listening. Sometimes it's just listening.
So how do you keep yourself motivated? You're motivating everybody else. How do you keep yourself motivated?
That's a good question, Gabby. I didn't think of that. That wasn't part of the list.
No, it wasn't. But I'm just thinking, because sometimes as women, we also give so much of ourselves, but we forget to give to ourselves in order to, because we gotta fill the tank, and if we're always giving, we have to know, okay, how do I replenish?
I hear you.
Or maybe it's just an awareness. Maybe you need to incorporate that a little bit more.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I have a duty. I feel like God put this in my heart, to be honest. And I feel like this is my purpose. So I feel like I can't quit. It's that kind of, and when we started the school, I say we, because I feel like so many people had a hand in everything we do. But when I started the school, it was very hard. I was a teacher. I wasn't a business person. I mean, you're talking about finances. You're talking about all these things that I did not go to school for. I was just coming into it with an open heart. Like, I want to help the world. I want to help all these kids, and didn't take into consideration that this is a business. So I struggled to learn all that, but I didn't quit because I really felt that it was my purpose. Like, this was given to me, and it was like that gut wrenching, like, I have to do this. I can't give up on this. What am I going to do if I don't do this? I'm going to wake up and be miserable. And even though sometimes it's hard to get up in the morning, I remind myself that this is my service. If everyone would really think about servicing others, I feel like this world would be so different. And not that I'm, Saint Teresa here, but I feel like we have to find that, because there's so many other negative things that just come by themselves. Like, you're not even looking for them, that you have to stay that way. And then also, the people around me. Sometimes when I'm feeling unmotivated and I'm still showing up and, still present, and nobody knows I'm unmotivated that day, somehow, I get those, hey, Ms. Nunez, did you hear about this? Hey, and I just, throughout the day, it reminds me of our purpose. So people are motivating me and they don't even know it. And my family, of course, is my number one support in all this.
And your mom too. So it's like, you do it all. She just had a baby too. He's so cute.
Yeah. My baby boy. So yeah, it's not easy, but we're here, right? We wake up every morning. That's a blessing.
What are the challenges that you faced with opening the school? Because like you mentioned, you didn't go to school for business. You went to school for education. So what are those challenges you faced with funding, with opening the school, securing a brick and mortar?
Yeah, ladies, I wish that I would have known more about business, or had more of that. It wasn't in my toolbox, because all my mentors were educators. So I didn't have any business mentors, because I was an educator. I am an educator. It was difficult, the part of the funding. It was difficult, finding, people that would invest in my business, people that really wanted to invest for the right reasons. And a lot of them didn't work out. And that was hard, because, it created drives. And I'm sure any woman that's trying to open a fashion line, trying to open a store, trying to open any type of business, you have to find your sources, and you have to go through a lot before you realize, okay, this is the one. This is the one that really cares. But really, the funding came with the kids, because the kids, were able to apply to scholarships that the government has. And honestly, I didn't get a salary for 3 years almost, where I put my family in, in a financial situation. I had to move in with my, at that time, raised parents. I was evicted. I didn't have money to pay anything, but I still showed up to work. I was the cleaning person in the morning, and then I would change. So teachers didn't know that I was the one cleaning the school every morning. And to this day, one of the assistant principals at the school, I put too much Clorox, in the toilet, and it kind of, whatever, long story short, and she noticed my pants. And she's like, imagine, I hadn't even noticed. So I had like this huge Clorox patch on my pants. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. And it was because, I hadn't brought it, whatever, extra clothes. But you go through that. And then you look at what you've built. How do you give up? You can't. You can't. It's impossible. You have to keep staying focused. And the fact that these parents believed in me when I had nothing. We were a little school in Westchester, a commercial property, but those little schools. And when parents would register, I'm like, yeah, you really want to register? They're like, yeah, this is amazing. This is great. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So these parents believed in me, believed in what I wanted to do and my passion to help their kids and learn together. So it's hard to give up on that. It's hard to just call it quits.
Right, because you're not only giving up on yourself, it's like almost like you owe it to the kids. So it keeps you fueled.
Yeah. And, I say it all the time. I struggle a lot when parents leave the school. I struggle a lot with that. And I've learned to think of it as a season. I'm going to give you my best season. And if you're with me for a long season, awesome. And if you're with me with a short season, I'm going to give you the best I can and wish you the best in for that student, really. Because, parents are parents, parents are parents, adults are adults. And sometimes we don't agree in what's best for the child because we really feel like they're our kids as well. We feel like they're ours. And sometimes we don't agree. And I've learned to say that's okay. They have their own journey and I'm going to give you the best that I got while you're with me. Because we've had, over the years, imagine 10 years, how many families with us. And I wish them the best. And the ones that are still with us, we see the improvements and we see the relationship. We see the relationship in those parents and the trial and errors that we've gone through to make them better.
So I would guess the most rewarding for you in this is just to see the kids thriving and to know that you're waking up every day to make someone's life different.
I had a part in that. Small, big, I had a part in that. That's pretty amazing to me. No money can actually give that, to be honest. And teachers feel like that too. We just want to keep them forever, but like I said, I've had to learn to create that barrier because we can't. They deserve other things at our school because of financials, because it's very expensive. We don't have the facilities to do that. But it is amazing to see them, and parents email me pictures after the years to show me how they're doing. They still follow us on Instagram, and it's nice. It's very rewarding to see that.
Yeah, no, and the school is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's like, it feels very like home, and it's beautiful to have like a woman behind that, like the woman's touch. And that's why I thought it was important to give you that highlight here on the podcast.
Thank you.
Because some of the work that we do that sometimes we feel like, how in the hell am I going to make this happen? But has such a big imprint in the world and in people's lives that if you just keep going, you just never know how big it could really get and how much more impact you can do. So you're living proof of that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gabby. I'm very ambitious and I have to sometimes remind myself of what we all have accomplished. Because I think, like I said, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And, I always want to be recognized or the school to be recognized because we're not, we have a brand, we have a name, but we're not, a charter school. We're not this big public school, and I guess if we could create more awareness that organizations like ourselves exist, not just for autism, but, like the Lotus House, like all these amazing organizations that survive based on what you and I talk about, because there's no advertising. We don't have money for marketing. We can't just hire, put somebody on retainer all the time for PR and social media, so, I would just like to really create more of that awareness in people, like reach out to these local organizations that are really putting in the work to help those people that need it. Because we're small, and a help from a big organization or from a big brand makes a big difference. It makes a big difference.
I also want to mention that, which we didn't talk about, and I think is important and makes a differentiator about your school, is that it's service-based learning as well. So you also not only, give them the basic skills, education, but you also incorporate the give back, the service to the children. How did that come about? And what are some of the things that you do to incorporate that kind of model?
So we're focused a lot on service learning and how to go into the community and do different things. Again, with COVID, we've had to stop for the last 2 years. And when we created S.T.A.R.S Global, which is part of our school, which is the neurotypical students, we wanted to create a school that brought in these kids, and a lot of them are the siblings of the autistic kids, that was not just education based. It was really more about how can I solve problems that are in the world? Because you see something, you're like, I know that's wrong, but I can't do anything about it. No, you can. So how do we do that? How do we build these kids that are growing up on iPads and technology and TikTok and all these things when we used to play out in the front yard with our neighbors? How do we create that connection, that human connection? And I said the best way to do that is by servicing others. So the word service learning comes in because you teach them how they're learning while they're servicing. So they have to, for example, Lotus House is one organization we donate to. They have to call there, they have to email, they have to find the problem, agree on the problem, and then actually say, how do we solve that problem? And then they have to amongst themselves figure it out. So we wanted to donate toys to Nicholas Hospital. And it was crazy because they were like, oh, we can just go buy it. Let's go buy it. Like, the teacher was like, no, we can't just go buy it because we need money. Well, the school can pay for it. Like, the school doesn't have money. How are we going to get these toys? They couldn't figure out how to get money to buy these toys. So then the teacher is like, well, maybe we can sell something. What can we sell? And then they started garage sales, bake sales, and all these things. And then we ended up raising $350. And then the school, when they matched it. And then, of course, we went to Walmart. And at Walmart, we took the jar of money. It's not like I took my car, we took a jar of money, and everybody had a budget and they had to buy these toys. They had to stand in line. We make them go through all that process because we have to teach kids that learning is important. Absolutely. But sometimes you're not that A+ student. But you're great at communicating with someone on trying to get them. You're a good business person. You're a good marketing person. You're a great artist. You can make these crazy flyers. So we're teaching them that it's not just about being smart in the books, is also being smart in how we, service others and what we can do with our skills and our talents. So that's what service learning is about. And that's what we now are really feeling, since COVID is kind of, we're doing better with that. We're able to streamline that. And do more of that service learning.
I absolutely love that. Because they also see okay, the jar, we got money. Now there's no more money in the jar. This is how economics works.
And the funniest part during the whole thing was they were looking for toys for them. And we were like, no, these toys are for others. And they're like, but I really like this toy. I said, I know you like this toy, but you're supposed to be looking for girls between the ages of 9 and 10. And it was so, the teachers and I reflected on it because I went on the field trip. Of course, I don't miss out on these things. And we were like, it was so powerful. It was so powerful for these kids. You can see it. They're like, oh, so I'm leaving here with nothing. I'm leaving here with no toys for me. And I have to think of someone else. And it was a game changer. It was a game changer for us. We saw the power in thinking of others. So we're really happy about it. And it's still developing. We're still growing it as far as, as our enrollment grows, our service learning will grow and our opportunities will grow. But it's great what you can do with kids and how they want to learn and how they want to be accepted. And they're looking at you for the answer. So we have a big responsibility to really help the generation that's coming up and how they can grow themselves.
I think you guys are doing an amazing job. So
thank you, Gabby.
Yeah.
We try.
So let's bring it back. I think it's important to kind of wrap up this interview with some of those signs that maybe, a parent right now listening or someone that might not really know, okay, is this something I should be concerned about? What are some of those signs you should be looking out for in your toddler? Because it's something that starts pretty early or can be detected really early.
Yeah. One of the big things that I would tell a parent is texture, sensory. The child's having a lot of difficulty with different textures, doesn't want to shower. You give them, different textures and they have they don't like it. They're having a full-fledged crying session. We see a lot of the communication, not being able to really, even as babies, the eye contact is a big one. Eye contact is a big one. And I think that if a parent sees their child's eyes glazing a lot and not really turning to you when you're, speaking to them or really making that eye contact, that's the first sign. That is the first sign. And you should not wait to get the other signs because that in itself is a delay in development. So that should be your first sign. And if you go to a doctor and the doctor says, oh, no, he'll catch up, he'll eventually, take him, go to another pediatrician. You go to another pediatrician because what I want parents to understand is that no problem can be solved if we don't know the problem. And I know it's difficult, but the moment we have a diagnosis, sky's the limit. We can do so many things from speech therapy, occupational therapy, applied behavioral therapy. So many things that we can do as early as 2, as early as 1.5, that giving this child, your child, an opportunity, because that's what we're doing. We're giving them an opportunity. We're not trying to fix them. We're giving them the tools for them on their time to use them and have that opportunity to develop. That's what I tell parents. It's not about fixing them. It's not about thinking about something's wrong with them. Is really giving them an opportunity. It's kind of like therapy, right? You're like, oh, I don't need therapy. Everybody needs therapy. Therapy's great. Who doesn't want to go and vent for an hour, right? Who doesn't want to go and have someone listen to you? It's kind of the same thing. Anything that we do for our kids is going to be beneficial, especially when you're working with people that are professional and experts in those areas. We do it all the time. We go to the hair stylist, then we go to the eyelash girl, we would do our nails with someone else. You go to a specialist. And I'm making that reference, not saying that it's like autism, but just to make it simpler in our minds that they just need a specialist to help them through this path that can help them grow.
Amazing. And another thing, is there a correlation between having a baby older and are you predisposed to having a child that maybe has autism?
Yeah, so this topic is very, very sensitive. And there is a lot of research. So I'm definitely going to reference that. There's verified research, not just research. There's verified research that indicates that the development of an embryo from older couples you do have a higher risk of having a child with developmental delays. Simply because what I've learned also, because I had to have IVF, what I've learned also is that, we don't always have the same quality of eggs. I mean, we're not going to get into a whole thing about that, but
we have a whole, we did
have a whole episode about it.
Go listen.
You can have me on that segment then, but pretty much, yes, it does. And there's verified science for that does show that. I am particularly, I did my PhD and I studied a lot of this. It has a lot to do, ladies, with what, honestly, we're putting in our bodies. The mutation of genes that it's occurring is astronomical. It's a lot. First time occurrences where you don't have these conditions in your family, not just autism, various conditions, and you're that first generation because there's a mutation in your genes, and that is huge. That's huge, and I feel that we really need to take care of what we're putting in our bodies, what we're eating, being more conscious of that, because it does have a consequence. It does have it does have a consequence. Vaccines themselves, I don't think vaccines cause autism. I think that, and I believe actually that, I believe that if you already have a weak immune system, and staying on schedule with the vaccines, the way this country does the vaccine schedules, it does not help, is what I'm saying. I'm not necessarily saying that it's going to cause autism. I'm just saying that it's very aggressive, the vaccine schedules that we have here. And I just think that we need to taper that. And that's why now doctors' offices, you can change that schedule of your kids' vaccines. I have kids at school that are not vaccinated and they have autism. So it's not necessarily that vaccines cause autism. It's just that it happens to be at that 2-year-old age when you have to get that big panel of vaccines that you start seeing a decrease in your child's abilities that they were doing before the vaccines. And that's because there was already an immune system that was weakened from birth, from conception. And now you're putting all these vaccines that your body has to rebuttal. And your body's having difficulties with that. And there's a lot of science behind that. I'm a God woman and I'm a faithful woman, but science has also shown us that we have to be careful with, we have to be knowledgeable and understand that not everything that we do with our kids is necessarily the way that we should do it based on what the recommendations are. Vaccines are big. It's a big thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a big topic on that. A lot of conversation around that.
So to wrap it, I want to talk about the exciting event that's coming at the end of the month on April 29th.
Yes.
Tell us about the fundraiser event here in Miami.
I'm so excited because we finally get together for this event. It's we usually do a big gala and it's a big like long dress and all that fun stuff. And we haven't been able to do that. It's one of our biggest fundraisers. Everybody comes out. We have a great time. We get to auction a lot of the kids' artwork because our kids are amazing. And we haven't been able to do that. So to kind of soften things and start that up again, we're going to do what I call kind of like a soft fundraiser. So it's more of like a networking, fun, free, just, standing around, talking and really admiring all the artwork that the kids are going to be doing, getting to know our teachers, our board members are going to be there. And it's a good time to donate. It's a good time to see what we're doing at our school. A lot of our parents are going, which I'm super excited about because they never really get out. So we're really excited. Our therapists are going to be there. It's just a time to celebrate. Honestly, I was thinking, even if we don't raise our goal, I just want us all to get together because we always look forward to this party and just to kind of let loose and have fun. And we haven't been able to do that. So this fundraiser is really, yes, to create awareness. Seasons 52, I reached out to them because one of their employees that we know of said, I've never seen my job, my employer do anything for autism. We do things for other causes, but we don't do for autism. And autism isn't, it's near and dear to me. And I say, I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to reach out to them and I'm going to tell them that, very gracefully, but I did. And they were like, you know what, let's do it. And I will be forever grateful to them because again, we're not very big. We're not like this big brand. And, at season 52, and I'm going to make sure I really spot them a lot, said, let's go. We're going to make it happen. What's your budget? What are we doing? And they were totally up for it. So I am very grateful to them. So we're going to have fun. We're going to have artwork. We're going to have raffle items. We're going to have a S.T.A.R.S merch table, which I love because it's a lot of cute stuff that you can buy, and just have a good time. Just, be grateful and thank God that we're still doing what we're doing and just really create that energy again for the school.
Yeah. And I want to mention that if you're in the Miami area and you want to come and network, it's also a community event. This is where you're going to meet, I'm going to be there. Eglee's going to be there. Just a lot of people that are making things happen locally here that are great professionals, great human beings. It's a great way to come network and also give back to an amazing school that is ran by a woman. It's already tough as it is. And so I think it's important to also give back. And it's the month to bring awareness. So and maybe if you have family that is, impacted by autism, it's a good way to also give back. I encourage you guys, even if you're not in Miami, you're listening or watching, you can go to starsautism.eventbrite.com. And there's a space where you can just donate, donate whatever you want. Even if you're not buying a ticket for the event itself, you can just donate $20, $10, whatever is in your heart. Just know that it's going to the school, it's going for the kids and to help fund some of these amazing activities that are going to help all these kids. So I'm excited for it.
Now, question, is this an adult only event or is it for the whole family?
It's adult only. We try to really make it that way so that parents can come out and really unwind a little bit.
Unwind, judgment-free zone.
Unwind with wine.
Yes, good.
Absolutely. But I think
let everybody know where they can reach you if you're on Instagram. And we'll definitely tag the event link. So if anybody wants to donate, we definitely are looking for donations. And
we definitely, you would be surprised on how much help anyone can give to our school, from a handy person that can build things for us and can just, donate their time. We always need help in things around the school, from, a monetary donation. We have a lot of enrichment programs that we're constantly trying to bring to the school that, costs money. So any donation is always helpful. And we are a 501c3. So any donation you give is tax deductible. We are a fully fledged nonprofit organization, and you can definitely go on the Eventbrite, and then our Instagram is _autism. you can send me messages to there. They definitely get to me. You can also send me emails at enunez@starsautism.org. And I'm here. I'm here for anything that the community needs. And if I could be of service, please definitely reach out to me.
We love it.
Thank you.
Alex.
Yes. I got so emotional.
Oh,
My nose is running and I'm like trying not to but I have to.
I'm sorry I got emotional. It's just Gabby asked the right question at the right time. So
but it's everything that you're doing is so beautiful, and it all comes from service, and you can tell that you have such a passion for it, and you have found your calling. So thank you. And I know everybody thanks you for this.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, for letting me have a space to talk and let women know that it's okay. We're all here. We're all going through something. I mean, that's the main thing I want to get across. Like, we're all going through something.
Yeah. And I feel like anybody listening to that may have a child that's autistic and maybe doesn't live in South Florida, I encourage you to still get in contact with Eglee, because she could be
absolutely
a resource, when you feel like, damn, who do I talk to? Who will understand?
Exactly. And that's the main thing, Gabby. You hit it right on the nail. Sometimes the calls that I get, I talk to people that I never actually even meet. And it's not because they're going to come to the school. It's just because they're like, am I on the right page? Like, am I really seeing this? And I have to tell them, you are. And if your husband doesn't support you, you're on, go to another, because at the end of the day, sometimes you feel, and it's like with everything, with all the other things that we go through, sometimes you feel like nobody understands you, or nobody sees you, or nobody gets you. And sometimes it takes a total stranger to say, no, you're not wrong. You're right. And this is what you need to do. And then I know a lot of organizations around the country that, Chicago, I've gone to a lot of different places so I can help with that and guide them in that. And a lot of the times that's all what I'm used for, is for that, to be that tool. So you don't necessarily have to reach out to me because you're going to register at the school. Sometimes it's just a question, and I'm okay with that too.
I would love if you could maybe provide our listeners with links and resources that we can put in our episode notes, so that in case they have any questions or they don't know where to go for those resources, we can at least help them find that.
Absolutely. The biggest resource I always tell parents is to go to the CDC website, because it's constantly being updated and it's very informative. It really outlines a lot of the things that, and very simple for anyone to read. Because when you're reading anything, I definitely don't recommend Google, but when you're reading anything and you kind of be like, oh my gosh, this sounds just like it, you want something simple that you can register. So I'll definitely help you guys with those links so you guys can put on here. But if you have a child, or you think you have a child with autism, it's not going to be the end of the world. That's what you need to know. It's not the end of the world. There's so many people out here that want to help your child. You just have to reach out to them. There's people that literally do this for a living. They study this because they know they're going to be, with your child. Parents sometimes come to us and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He's having a tantrum. We're like, we know it's okay. So I think that's important to tell parents, like, we know, we're expecting this because we know this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. That in itself makes any parent feel like, okay, I can breathe. And it's going to be okay. And that's what people need to know. It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay, guys. So if you're out there, don't feel by yourself.
Yep.
This was so valuable. So valuable. Yeah. Thank you, Eglee. Again, go to starsautism.eventbrite.com and help this amazing woman to keep doing these amazing things for the kids. So
thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening, Eglee. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I think it was long overdue. Especially I'm very proud that we did this during Autism Month.
Yes.
Because that's what our platform is for, is to create awareness. And we don't know how many girls we're going to impact, or even men, because some men listen to this.
Yep.
So thank you.
Thank you for what you
so
do.
Much.
Thank you for everything you do, because this is an amazing platform for women to come on here and just be reminded of how amazing we are and how good we are.
Yes. Thank you everyone for listening, and till next time, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
to Girls Gone Boss.
Hosted by Alex and Gabby.
I love you guys.
Oh, yeah.